Okay, I'm going to make a tutorial on competitive play for Horn of the Abyss for beginner players. Um, I guess the first thing I'm going to do is talk about some of the differences between Shadow of Death and the Horn of Abyss. If you're not familiar with that, I'm not going to go into everything because I'm going to assume that you're going to go into the single player and figure that out for yourself. But the biggest changes in this is that there's a lot of new buildings. Um, they did some buildings that balance out the free units you can get in this game, and also they balanced the some of the different terrains now have certain unique buildings that are either better or worse than their previous buildings or just new and interesting. Um, and then also they added the new Race Cove. I highly suggest you check them out. It's a lot to take in, but you will be seeing Cove heroes as well as Cove units, as well as some new neutral units. Um, Alright, so let's get into the online. Um, this is you get to the online lobby through clicking on the multiplayer, clicking on the online lobby. You'll have to make your account. So let's go over the basics here. Um, this is me. This is my rating and ranked, which is not very high. This is the number of people who have friended me, opposed to the people who have put me on the blacklist. If any people did that, they might have. Um, these is the amount of people online playing right now. These are my friends. Some of these guys I have not played against, but I do talk. I've talked to them occasionally. Um, these are the available matches here. For new players, this can be very overwhelming. As you see, there's a lot of different things here and symbols. So I will talk about some of those. First of all, this one right here, you're going to be seeing stuff like this a lot. Very confusing. Okay, see the JC here, that stands for the template that this guy wants to play on, which in this case is Jeebus Cross, and it looks like someone just jumped into that. Where did he put that? Right here. I don't know. Let's see. So yeah, this one's fine. So this is the size of the Jeebus Cross template, which is extra large, played at 160%. That is the normal difficulty in this game for competitive play. And then the timers are as such, I believe. So the chess timer is 2 minutes. So if you can save yourself 2 minutes on a turn. Um, Jeez, these things are flying in and out of here. I'm having a hard time keeping up with this. Okay, well the one I was looking at disappeared, but here's another one here. Um, Again, and then there's a combat timer plus a chess timer. Um, and then some people play with flat turn timers like this guy here. Um, then it says 1-2-1 sim. That's when he thinks that you want to turn your sim turns off a little bit before you think you're going to meet your opponent. This guy's pretty good, so he has his pretty low. Also, you would not be able to play this guy as somebody because he wants to play against people with a 150 rating or higher. Now, let's see. So there's more. You see, a lot of people wanted to play Jeebus Cross. This guy, um, etc. There are some people queuing some other stuff. 9 Day Wonder. That's a M200 template. I'm not sure what balance is. Random medium. Some people also like to play with the random template generator still. Um, okay, now the other things here, this indicates that the people are playing ranked, the star. So this guy is not playing ranked. This guy is not playing ranked. Um, the locked symbol here indicates that it is a password game, and you have to get the password from the person who is running the game. So if I wanted to play against this guy, I would have to open a private chat room with him and then message him down here and ask him for his password. This is so that he can decide a little better who he's playing against, because some people who play online are kind of idiots. And you will probably find that out if you play on this. Um, let's see, is there any other important things? Um, when you okay, also yes, this is a load game here. That's a symbol that indicates a load. So you don't want to click on that. You're probably just going to irritate the guy who is trying to load the game. Um, you can also, if something happens to your game and you saved it, or you can find the autosave, you can then load the game like this, and then we will start a new game. I'm going to put up a password here so that nobody joins it, um, and put an odd number of players on it. And, so no, so anyways, normally, so this is the number of players you want to have in your game. Um, you put a description for your game here. So let's say that I was going to start a beginner Jeebus Cross game. I would put something up like this. I would say, like, I don't know, say maybe they play with an 8-minute turn timer and like 131 sim turns. Now you could put slashes in between these, or not. Most people will understand what that means. Now I'm not going to type that in this case because I don't want anybody messaging me right now. And we're going to go here. Okay, so here I'm going to show you guys how to create a game. So let's say we're going to do a Jeebus Cross. So we would set up a 160%. We would find our Jeebus Cross template. If you look in here, don't pay too much attention. I have unpacked templates. I have made templates. I have gotten other players to give me templates. There's a whole bunch of extra templates in here that have nothing to do with anything. Jeebus Cross. So here we go. Actually, I have my roads incorrect for Jeebus Cross. This normally competitive Jeebus Cross is played on extra large, although you will see a lot of people playing on large as well. But the better players will almost always play on extra large, with maybe the exception of Lekshov. I don't know if he still plays on large or not. I used to watch him all the time. I don't watch him that much anymore. Normally he's just played 1v1, but you can play up to 4 players, and you can play with teams. So okay, now we got PvP options. Some people like to ban towns before the game starts. A lot of times you will get one ban each. So let's say I wanted to ban Necro. My opponent, if they are a really good player, they might ban something like Tower because they don't care what I play. If they're not as skilled, they might ban Conflux because they don't want to play against Conflux. So whatever ones that you want to ban, you can ban. So let's say we ban Conflux and Necro. That would be pretty normal. And then after that, if I'm playing competitive, we would then click the random versus random button. Now this is only for competitive Jeebus Cross, and this is also if they say trade. There are other ways to play. You can play random versus random. Playing picking is not advisable, although you may get destroyed on the gold through this process, because how towns are picked in this game are by bidding gold. So we're going to do a random versus random. This is what you would normally do. It would be tower versus cove. In this case, also each player would have one reroll. Um, I would probably play this. Not everyone would. Let's say I didn't like it, and you want to use my reroll. So I'd say reroll, and then castle versus castle. That's a mirror, so you automatically reroll that. Also a mirror, also a mirror. Inferno versus castle. So that's Inferno versus castle. And here you would then bid gold for who gets to pick the race. In this case, castle is much more powerful than Inferno. You would bid a lot of gold to get castle. Now, if you're not familiar with this template, maybe bid a little bit less. I would say it might be worth spending 5,000 gold on that choice, but that's pretty risky for a new player. I don't know if I would spend that much. It also depends on how comfortable you are on Inferno. I also like to play Inferno, but not so much on Jeebus Cross. Um, okay, so let's say that I won the bid. I got Castle for 5,000 gold. After that, then you start a second round of bidding, and that is for color. Now, color is very important in this game. Sometimes somebody may say no red rush. What that means is that you may not attack with your new army on the first day of the week. However, you may give your hero the army. You just may not attack your opponent with it. Um, and I don't know if people are really abiding by that much anymore. I think Red Rush is very valuable, so that's part of the reason why people bid a lot of gold on playing Red. It's a little less useful if you can't Red Rush. Um, so let's say I also got um, gold for red for another 1,000. So in this case, I would be minus um, 6,000 from myself, and then plus 6,000 to my opponent. Okay, and then we would go into this part, show advanced options, and then I would be here. I would pick castle. I would pick Valeska, because you always pick Valeska if you pick castle. There may be a few exceptions to that. Maybe also if you're playing on a mirror template, you may not be able to do that. But and then my opponent would be playing Inferno, and they would choose their hero. They have a couple of heroes that they might pick. Um, and then I would be going first. I would only start with 4,000 gold. My opponent is going to start with um, their starting gold plus the extra 6,000, so they'll have 1,600 starting gold, or 16,000 starting gold. Is that right? Yeah, 16,000. Um, which is a large amount. But Castle can make angels, and they have the archers upgraded are both ridiculously strong, and honestly, the Cavaliers are also really good and can be really good. Alright, so we're gonna get out of this because that's not really what we came there to do. I'm gonna go back to the online lobby, and then we're gonna check one more thing before I end this video. We're gonna check on the online gaming rules. I'm not gonna go over everything that's here, but um, what I was just talking about, that whole barter thing here, is pretty much written in here. Um, and then we've got things that are banned. And this is very important. Um, and I guess if we can find that down here. Okay, there's a lot of other stuff. Not everything. Okay. Yeah. So some other terminology, I guess, is very important. When you are playing in the game, generally each template has a number of restarts which are allowed, and then they may be restarted on turn 1 or turn 2. So as an example right here, that's wow, there's a lot. They say 3 day 1 restarts. My goodness, that's a lot. Normally only two are allowed in most cases. Um, and then one on week. So 1-1-1 means you're restarting on turn one. 1-1-2 is restarting on turn two. You generally are allowed 2 day 1 restarts and or 1 day 2 restart on a Jeebus Cross template. Um, the restarts are different on some of the other ones. Okay, so um, here's some of the other things that are banned. I guess so. Here's also this kind of important as well. Block restarts. I guess only applies to your main zone. And that's, you can read this if you want to. You should read probably most of this. So I'm not going to go over all of it. Hit and run is banned. That's where you can't attack someone, cast a spell, and then retreat or surrender your hero. You also cannot use diplomacy to get free units of any kind if you pay for them or if they just join you. I know a lot of people who played Shadow of Death will be upset about that one because that's one of the easiest ways to win the game. That's also why it's banned. Um, Dimension Door also very limited from Shadow of Death unless you are familiar with the tournament scene. As long as you have the tournament rules on, I guess so. I didn't show you guys that, but I didn't have anyone in the game, so I guess. But there, anyways, there's a button when you start a game that has um, the oh, geez, I guess I have to go back and show you guys timers as well. Um, but we'll do that at the end. Um, so yeah, so normal templates, you can only use Dimension Door once a day, regardless of what kind of magic you have. On a XL plus U, as extra large plus underground size template of any kind, you may use Dimension Door 2 days with Expert Air once otherwise. And also, never ever ever are allowed to assemble the Cloak of the Undead King. Um, just banned. Making glitches for free is not a fair thing. Yeah, there's some other stuff here, um, like who has to surrender if you can't resolve the combat with a win. Um, uh, Simultaneous turns. I talked about simultaneous turns and I didn't really discuss it. But simultaneous turns is the when you and your opponent take your turns at the same time. The only thing about that is, since you are taking your turns at the same time, um, the later player, the blue player, and then multiplayer, anyone after red, would potentially have to replay their last turn if it is interrupted by the simultaneous turns. Um, some common templates people play, this is one of them, although now there's a H3DM2, which is the same as this one, and it has more heroes banned. This is one of the most competitive templates that exists in this game. This is a mirror template, which means that the you and your opponent's map is identical to each other, and you each play on one half of the map, and it's exactly the same. All of the rewards are the same, all the artifacts are the same, all the fights are the same, everything is exactly the same. And then they're connected to each other by portals, and then you can go onto your opponent's side of the map, and you can do things like farm one of their zones that you know what's in it to prevent them from getting a certain artifact or something like that. Um, we'll get back to this. There's some various Jeebus games. these are also mirror templates, which are not played so much anymore. I was actually lucky enough that some of the pro Russian players actually PM'd me both of these templates because I asked them about them when they were playing them. Then you can see some people queue for this template, 6LM10A. That is also one of the hardest templates in the game. Occasionally you might see people playing on Spider or maybe one of these other guys from time to time, although it's not very common. Also, sometimes you may see people play Nostalgia. This is a really, really long template to play. There is a mini Nostalgia though, which is more commonly played, and we will be seeing that coming up pretty soon in the tournaments going on right now. Let's see. Yeah, here's mini Nostalgia. This is another one that you'll see a little bit of. But the template that you'll see most often is the Jeebus Cross. And this is the template that most people play. Some stuff to talk about here. Difficulty played on 160%, that's normal. I guess this is the chess timer suggested. That's pretty high for a new player. You probably won't need that much, but and then these sim turns also are very low for beginner play. You're probably going to want to set them to 131 at the lowest, and I'll show you guys how to do that at the end of this video. Yeah. So also the other thing is here is that you can't guard skip. You have to defeat your guards to move out of your zones. You can't fly over them or dimension dart over them. That is banned. Okay. Also here, the M200 templates, you will see people playing a little bit of all of these. You'll see a little bit less of the 2SM2C. I think I have tutorials on all of these templates, although I may redo some so they're a little better for non-native English speakers. I hope this video is good. So there's some rules here. The M200 templates are played at 200% difficulty with a random versus random and a coin flip for red. Okay, so I guess let's go ahead and I will do this again so I can show you the last couple of things. So we're gonna go back to where we were at, and so bring back the PvP option. So we did that. So there's also coin flip. There's just 0 and 1. So when you ask your opponent for a coin flip, just know it's not really heads or tails. I mean, it is, I guess, right? 1 is heads, 0 is tails. Or you could just say 1 or 0, and it makes a little more sense to your opponent. Also, here we have tournament rules. That is to keep the diplomacy and dimension door and stuff like that. Also, the other thing the tournament rule does is allows you to, if you go down to an underground zone and you can't break the block on the other side, it allows you to press the spacebar and go back through a portal or back up underground, which is very useful. Also, so here's your simultaneous turns. You need to turn that on if you want to play them. These were for some kind of multiplayer thing. Normally you would do something like this, or something like this on maybe a M200 template. And then you can also decide to protect your saves with password or not. Most of the time you want to do that so that people don't load your game up while you're playing and cheat. I think that's about it. You can change the monster strength, you can change the difficulty, and trying to think, is there anything else it's important to discuss here? Um, I don't think so. I think that pretty much covers everything. I made you a very, very brief introduction to Jeebus Cross as well, um, and the template editor, and get a little more advanced in the next segment of this tutorial, but I'm going to end this one here.